Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Library 2.0 mini conference this spring 2022. We're going to get started in just a moment here. I'm going to introduce our speaker, Chad Mairn. He is a librarian from Innovation Lab at St. Petersburg College, and he is going to be discussing engaging users with virtual reality. And please note that this session is being recorded. And thank you again for joining us. I'm Missy Williams, and I am SJSU alumna. Take it away, Chad.
Hello, my name is Chad Mairn, and I am inside Spatial, a virtual and augmented reality collaborative space where people from all over the world can simultaneously meet in any environment of their choosing. They can search for information, present ideas, share and interact with 3D objects like this one, watch videos, purchase art via NFTs, and much more. So I am going to leave VR now and come back to real life to continue my talk.
All right, so hello everybody, this is the real me out here now. I'm going to go ahead and breeze through this presentation. So I got a lot to cover, and please hand me your questions when you need them, or when they come up. So here we go. There we are. All right, so my first question is always, can immersive technologies improve learning and provide more engaging collaborative experiences? And the answer is yes. It's pretty emphatic yes, actually. So a couple of reports I want to mention through EDUCAUSE. Learning in 3 dimensions is a really great one. A lot of use cases in here to look at. And XR for teaching and learning is another one to explore. So this is AR, obviously, but I always like to show this because these experiences are unforgettable. These 2 students are anatomy and physiology students. I'm looking at the heart on the iPad, but they're in an immersive space and they can actually see this heart as large as they want it to be. They can actually go inside of it and that sort of thing. And these students came back, one's wearing a Magic Leap and one's wearing a HoloLens. They came back later and told me they aced their exam, and they prefer this type of learning over the 3D models that we see a lot. And then on the left is another co-location study session, and this is a very large digital cadaver. And as you look at the body parts, and you can have it be the muscular or the neuromuscular or skeletal, whatever it is, but as you look at the parts, it's hard to see in the video. It's identified as you look at it, and then as you go inside the body, parts of the body dissolve, and you're still, the parts are identified. So this is a really engaging and immersive experience for learning. Okay. Just one little thing to point out. I don't know if this is actually in Florida, and this is the world's first virtual reality classical school. It's a charter school, and they're actually looking for faculty now. They're looking for librarians as well. I actually did send my resume in because I think it would be really pretty cool to work completely in VR with these students. So the link is down there. I'll give you the access to this presentation as well, so you'll have all the links. Some stuff I'm excited about. So this is Magic Leap. Again, it's augmented reality, but on the other side, you'll see the VR. But what I think is amazing about this type of immersive technology, especially for learning, is that you can step inside data, not just a heart or a cadaver, but now we can actually interact with these objects. And you can see relationships a lot better this way as well. And then over here on the right is a 3D data visualizer. And I think this is quite impressive as well. And then this is the VR side. And you can see that this gentleman is interacting with data completely immersed. And so really, you're gonna see those relationships a lot better than you would in a document or a spreadsheet or something like that. pretty cool stuff. Okay. And then over here on the left, so what I did is I did a 360 photo and I exported it as a GLB file and then added some binary stuff to it as well. And there are applications out there that'll do this for you. And then what I did was I was able to bring it into Spatial or any VR platform really, and then be inside that space. If I was going to do this better next time, I would actually have the people out of the room and put it on a tripod where you wouldn't see anything. But I'm essentially in this classroom now. And what's nice is when you're in Spatial or any other collaborative VR space or application, you can then bring in one of these skyboxes, what they're called, or a sphere, and then basically have a portal to any room, which is for education. That's pretty impressive. And then over here, I won't play the whole video. This is a tour that a fairly large group of us did through Engage. And, we're all floating around as avatars. And again, this is, as you all know, this is two-dimensional. It doesn't really do it justice. When you're in that space, when you're in VR, this is an incredible tour. And so it's sort of like we have our own little jetpacks flying around this beautiful landscape. And in a second, we're all going to be on the surface of Mars, and just, we're all able to communicate with one another, which is, an interesting way to do this. I think, a lot of people think that, VR is this isolated technology, and it is, but in a lot of cases, especially what you're seeing here, it's not. It's a social experience, and I think that's where education has, a huge opportunity in this space.
So Chad, there's a question. Aaliyah
Sure.
asks, can you communicate in text? I'm guessing text within these virtual tours?
Yeah, well, if you are not in VR, you could, or a lot like Spatial has voice to text, which is great. So you could just speak what you want. So if you have like a sticky note, you can bring up a sticky note and then do a voice to text, and it'll translate that right onto text. Spatial, or like immersed VR, I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. That allows you to type in there, so you can type. And if you're not inside VR, if you're on the desktop side or the web-based version of it, or if you're on your cell phone, you can text that way as well and interact with people that are in VR. Good question. Okay. So a couple years ago, Google, when you did a search for something like sea turtle or octopus or panda, Google gave you the option to view that in your space. And I thought that was really kind of a cool thing. So I wanted to take it a step further. So I was like, well, I'm gonna try to see if I can, since I work with students a lot, how can we make a research paper a little bit more engaging? So on the left, you can see the videos going. So this is like a sample research paper. And as you scroll down, the student could be reading this, or the professor could be reading this, and then see the 3D object, move it around within the paper. But then if they want, they could select it and then push it into their space and then view it in that space. So if you're doing, like if I'm writing about this helmet, for example, and a traditional paper is going to have, a two-dimensional thumbnail describing something that's in 3 dimensions. And this is really not a difficult thing to do. With AR Core and AR Kit for Android and iPhone, you can make this happen pretty easily. And so I'll give you my contact later. If you want to kind of play around with this later, you can, and test it out on your phone and see how it works. I always love to show this. This student came into the lab a while back before COVID, and he was partially blind in one eye, but he was really wanting to try virtual reality, and he was kind of debating like if it was going to work for him or not. I said, well, why don't you at least try it? And if it doesn't work, you can just take the headset off and move on. So he tried it, and you can see by his smile he was blown away because he told me that it did increase his peripheral vision to his functioning eye, and so he was able to paint beautiful photos or beautiful 3D sculptures and that sort of thing in Tilt Brush. Anyway, that smile tells 1,000 stories. It was fun to watch him. Yeah, Tilt Brush is amazing. I just did a similar presentation for a bunch of instructional designers recently, and they're always like, well, is there any proof that VR is enhancing learning? And so I found this research study, and I'm not going to go into all of it, but it does say that, given that the learning was the same regardless of condition, what remains is the fact that participants widely favored the VR experience. 78% preferred VR, and when describing their reason, use phrases such as, it was easier to visualize, more realistic, more immersive, more fun, more interesting, more accurate, that kind of thing. And I agree. I think it's way more realistic than reading about it. And I love to read, don't get me wrong, but I think this is just an enhancement to the education process. And then it says here at the end, as a method of engaging students, using VR was successful in our study and was not achieved at the cost of learning gains. Novelty does diminish, however, so an advantage based on novelty alone will cease to be an advantage as exposure rises. And we're starting to see VR become, less expensive. So it's a good thing. Again, it's not going to replace a textbook. It's not going to replace, going into a lab at school, but it's there to help enhance the learning process, and that's great. I'm not going to speak too much about this, but if you've not looked at the Immersive Learning Research Network, I'd highly recommend checking that out. They've got a lot of really great stuff in there. And so it's immersivelrn.org. So I look at my son, for example. He's 11 years old, and he's crazy about Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox, mostly Minecraft. And at his school, they're using Minecraft to teach chemistry and science and digital literacy, all these things. They're using Minecraft as a mechanism to teach students, and because they realize these kids are there anyway. And it's interesting though, you look at this stuff, and these really are the building blocks for the metaverse. And we all know the metaverse is not a new concept. It's been around since I think 92. It's from Snow Crash to Novel, but it's really starting to gain traction now with all these bigger companies, investing in that metaverse concept. But anyway, I think it's really cool that a lot of these applications here are the building blocks for the metaverse. And of course, you can see Active Worlds 1995 and Second Life 2003. So it's not a new thing. It's been around for a while. And if you're interested, take a look at the Unity documentation too. And there's a link down there to kind of see what's possible with this. I did find this article interesting. I just wanted to kind of throw it in. And since we're all librarians and information professionals, search in the metaverse, why brands should optimize for visual search. And if you think about it, it's kind of a scary thing. If we're all wearing smart glasses or VR headsets, right? The eye tracking, companies are going to start tracking your eye tracking. So they're going to be able to, like, let's say you look at something at a store and you like, I don't know, a smoothie or something, and your eyes are like, you're like, ooh, that looks good. Well, your eyes dilate a little bit. And so companies are going to go, oh, Chad really likes smoothies. Let's start throwing ads at them. So, but you also look at like, how can libraries or research institutions leverage this type of thing as well? It's not too far away. This was interesting, I thought. So I've been beta testing and been part of the early access for Spatial for quite a while. They're one of my favorites, social VR platforms. But so, I don't know, about a year or so ago, we all met with two Wall Street Journal journalists, Joanna Stern and Christopher Mims. And we all hung out in VR and chatted with them. They had questions. They were writing a paper about it or something in the newspaper. What was wild is I don't know, a couple days after that, I saw Joanna Stern on CNBC, and I kind of felt that I knew her because her avatar looked really similar to her. She wasn't like very cartoon-like. It looked like her, so I kind of felt like I knew her already. So it was a pretty interesting, an interesting experience. Some other things I want to mention about Spatial. So over here on the right, one of my colleagues at the college, him and his son actually found that frog on the side of the road. It was dead, but it was in perfect condition. So he actually used his iPhone and scanned it and got a really good scan. You can't really see it here, but he got a really good scan and he was able to bring that into Spatial. And the beauty of it is you have one model in Spatial, you can easily duplicate it. So if you have 40 students inside Spatial, they can all have their own frog. Instead of having it stored in it is a huge frog, and you can make it super, super large too. But it's a good way to learn, and it's a good way to just kind of keep, not have to have a bunch of frogs in storage somewhere. And then over here on the left was just an art gallery. So I was working with Louis Marcoya, who is actually a protege of Salvador Dali, and he wanted to put his art is three-dimensional, and it doesn't require glasses to see, but he was kind of curious as to how we could put that into VR, and so I kind of helped him create this VR gallery. Bill, you're asking what app he used for the 3D scan on his iPhone. I know, but I cannot remember. I'll give you my contact and let's definitely connect after, and I'll let you know for sure what it is. I know it was some kind of open source app that he had. Okay. I thought this was pretty fun. I'm gonna click here. Hopefully this opens in the same thing. So I'm not gonna show the whole thing, but so Fox 13 came into the lab. I don't know, what's it say? I don't know, a few months back. And we went into the second segment. He was curious, he wanted to do something different. So I said, well, why don't we have the interview inside VR? And so this was his first time in VR. And you can see that he's, I'll just turn it on.
Well, this is Spatial. So we're in a 3D environment and we can interact with 3D content. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring in this little object here. So we can interact with this interact with it however I want.
So no more PowerPoints.
No,
PowerPoints. You could actually take the class into this, virtual space. I'm sure the 2D, video, it doesn't do it justice because this really does look incredible.
Yeah,
I love how the avatar.
So you can see that Tony Suduko is the journalist, and he's, the camera guy did a really good job, by the way, I think, of having the dual screen so people can see people in real life and how it looks when they're interacting in VR. So I thought that was cool that they actually took a risk to work in there. What is that red? That's weird. Anyway, do you guys see the red?
Yes, we do. I was wondering if you had some sort of
I have
something
no idea.
open on your.
I have no idea what that is. It's weird. It's graffiti. Anyway.
There is a question in the chat about, is it possible to access these programs outside of the goggles?
Yes.
Personally get simulation sickness and vertigo, so the accessibility of these in educational settings is a concern of mine.
Yeah, that's a great question. But yeah, with Spatial and a lot of these other social VR applications, you do not have to be in VR. You can be on your phone interacting, or you can be on your, a computer with a decent browser. Most browsers can support that type of functionality now. So yeah, you do not have to be inside VR to do that. So good question though. So here's the Louis Marcoya. So we actually did an interview inside Spatial with a few of the Spatial developers. The curator of the museum's back there. I'm way in the back, and then Louis is up at the front. So we actually did an interview inside one of his paintings. We actually did one of his paintings and made it into a skybox. So we're actually in one of his paintings. And we just did the interview. The link is there if you want to learn more about Lewis and his technical work that he does. It's amazing. And the actual interview is there as well. Now, this is something I worked on the other day. So immersed VR is very similar to Spatial. I won't play the whole thing, but I was able to integrate this into Teams.
So today I'm testing immersed VR, and I've got the immersed webcam, and I can move the webcam all around. You can kind of see that I'm moving it around.
I'm going to fast forward this a little bit.
Controlling it that way. What's really neat is I'm able to select
what I love about
phone,
this,
and let's see,
is over here, as you can see.
So that's my phone that I can bring inside VR. My latency is 8 milliseconds, not too bad. I can use Wi-Fi direct.
So here we go.
And
so
it works. So let's try this real quick. I'm going to close this out and select this little phone.
So I'm inside Immersive right now.
If I can make that work.
What I love about it though is I can bring my phone directly
now
into VR.
You can see that I have my phone.
So there it is. And in a second, you'll see that I'm actually holding the phone, but you don't see it. It's invisible in VR, but the actual.
So as I play, I can still hold my phone and I can flip it like I normally would. Takes a second. So you don't see it. I'm going to hold the phone. But as I.
But anyway, I thought that was a fun little project. And that's actually with Microsoft Mesh just around the corner. They're going to implement that into Teams. So you're going to be able to do mixed reality types of things right within Teams. And I'm pretty excited about that. Look at the red is getting even more artistic. I don't know what's going on with that at all, but that's
crazy.
It's weird. I don't know. Yeah, anyway.
Thanks for sharing that. That was really cool. So we're at, 22 past the hour. So
okay.
There's a couple questions here. I'm not sure about, are we going to be getting these links? Do you know, are you sharing your slides with to add to the recordings?
Yeah.
So the other,
I think I sent you the link already, didn't I?
You did. Yep.
Yeah. So that's available right now for anybody to look at.
Okay.
And there's my contact info, and that's my Ready Player Me avatar, which works with multiple platforms. So, yeah, keep in touch. Like I said, I've got on these slides, there's tons of supplemental stuff in here as well. I just couldn't squeeze it all in, of course.
Sure.
So
there's another question with respect to socialization. Would you elaborate pros and cons in using VR in like 2 minutes?
okay, well, during COVID, it was perfect because, I brought all my stuff home. I was still able to interact with people like I was in the same room with them. We didn't have to worry about social distancing or, wearing a mask or any of that stuff. Plus, when you're in Zoom like we are now, being in 2 dimensions is completely, it works. But I mean, if I wanted to, if we were holding a 3D, I can bring 3D objects into a space and we can look at it and interact with it like we're in the same room together. I think that's amazing. Some of the cons, I think, sometimes when people have like their computer screens on and they also go into VR, there could be like some audio feedback, which can be very annoying. But Spatial now has a thing where you can mute nearby users. And that's been very helpful. I think that's probably one of the worst parts of it, is sometimes the audio is not perfect. But anyway, I think it's great being able to meet with people from all over the world, and it doesn't matter where they are or what time it is or anything. So I think, and by the way, if you ever want to try it, let me know. I'd be happy to set up a session and we can play around with it.
Wow, thanks. And another question came in saying it's way over her head. Is there something more simplified?
What's over the head?
She said, this is so cool, but is way over my head. I don't even have the vocabulary. I'm a public school educator. Is there something for simplified? I need to scaffold my knowledge.
I think just getting into VR once, like just try it, and then go from there. And like I said, I'd be very happy to meet with you inside Spatial. I've got, you know, a team account that I can set you up with, and I could explain a lot more that way if you want.
Okay, so if somebody were to just email you, then you
Yep.
could set that up with them. Perfect.
Definitely.
All right, and then another question, how is your tolerance for time in VR?
Oh, for me personally, I'm about 45 minutes and then I'm done.
Okay, wow.
But it depends on the app. If I'm playing with like Tilt Brush or something, I can be in there for a couple hours. You know, and some of the social VR stuff I can just hang out like normal. But other than that, like the gaming and stuff, after a while I get a little fatigued.
Sure. And another question, do you consider VR as a viable tool for schools in underserved communities?
Definitely. I mean, for one example is just, I mean, field trips. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world you want, without having to travel there. Obviously it's better to go to the actual physical place, but if you want to do a field trip, you can go anywhere. And that's a beautiful thing. And it is getting more affordable. It really is. It's not, you know, crazy expensive like it used to be.
Right. All right. I think that's probably about time. There's other sessions starting at 1:30 or 4:30 or whatever time zone, half past the hour, wherever time zone you are in. And thank you so much, Chad, for your amazing presentation.
You're welcome.
If you want to go ahead and stop the recording, that'd be great.
I'll do it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.